Hi guys, thanks for coming. My name is Linda Bergskas. I'm originally from Norway and I migrated to Australia to start Newcastle University visual communication in 2001. Had to do a crash course in English first, the early course at uni. Didn't speak English when I came. Since then, or since 2005, I've lived half the time in Bali, so I'm still kind of splitting myself between here and Bali. Please let me know too if I talk too fast or if you have trouble understanding me. Visionise fashion design and manufacturing services is my business now. We design, consult and manage, do production management and the actual production for over 50 different fashion brands at the moment, with that number growing pretty much weekly right now. It is a new but old business. Technically, the company started in July this year. It had a soft launch as a sole trader for a bit over a year just to test the systems, but it's registered as a company in July this year. It's old because it's based on previous businesses that I've had. It's based on my previous business relationships, my suppliers, my clients and businesses that have come on as clients and so on. So I'll explain a bit more about that further down. I might just show you a movie first to give a little introduction about the factory, and just letting you know this movie, I literally decided on this business idea about a week before I made the movie. The movie I decided on the day, and the business has developed since creating this movie, but give you a little insight. Can you put it up slightly louder? There's some talking coming.
One of the services we provide is training. We provide one-on-one or small group workshops using Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop and InDesign. We also use the newest and up-to-date efficient techniques to create perfect digital fashion illustrations, technical drawings, tech packs, surface design, marketing material and much more. We customize our training to your ability and your skill level. Our intensive and practical approach ensures effective learning. Another one of our services is consultancy. With our extensive industry experience, we have the know-how to determine your business strengths and weaknesses. We will analyze and further develop your business plan and provide strategies that is in line with your internal capabilities and your business expectations. An experienced and objective eye can make the world of difference to your business. Provide constructive feedback and sparking fresh ideas, can eliminate costly and time-consuming setbacks. We also offer manufacturing and sourcing facilities in Bali, and this is where we are right now. Our factory produces high-quality products with sophisticated, transparent production operations, digital pattern-making machines, barcoding systems, ecological waste management systems, and last but definitely not least, clean and safe working environment where workers are paid accordingly to and above the award. We invite all our clients to come and see for themselves and also work on their collections inside the factory. There is absolutely no better way to get your creative juices flowing than to work alongside your pattern makers, sample sewers, while having printing facilities, beads and other accessories at your fingertips. Imagine getting a garment and 30 minutes later wearing it. That's what it's like to work in our factory. We provide a collaborative culture and we work as a team. We are here to help designers and textile businesses obtain the skills, strategies and implementation of ethical production solutions that will improve efficiency and growth. We are shaping the future as a team. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to our mailing list on our website visionise.com.au to keep up to date with the newest industry news and tricks of the trade. Get in touch.
Okay, so that was the beginning of Visionise. Like I said, I pretty much made that up on the go that day, and it was just an impulsive idea. We had a group of students over, and I thought we'll make a movie. Couple of weeks before that, I decided to start Visionise. Just the idea came about because we have an enormous amount of people coming to Bali wanting to start a fashion label, and they end up going backwards because they don't know what they're doing. They're not understanding the timelines, the processes, the cost, everything that's involved, and how complex this industry actually is. So therefore I decided to help them and also help us, the factory, because it's also a big investment for a factory to take on start a business with no financial backing, no industry experience or history in the business, in the industry to sort of guarantee where things are going, because sampling for a manufacturer is costly. So we did, as I was doing it, there was a lot of that I was talking about in that movie about training and a lot of different service types, and initially feedback that I was getting from people, because I actually had problems trying to even explain to people what Visionise really is, and there's so many arms to this service, and a lot of the feedback that I received was that there's too many services, there's too many products inside of this business model, it is confusing. And that's what I was kind of trying to work out with this movie. What is it exactly that we do, and to simplify it. But in saying that, although there's a lot of different services and product types inside this business model, actually has been key to the success of it, because one thing brings another, and it's like a domino effect, and it makes it easy for our clients. We basically do everything for our clients. So it's a one-stop shop for them, and it also allows us to stay competitive because we're not relying on one part of the business and putting big markups on that part. We stretch it out, and not relying on one type of service or one type of product. So it's a win-win really for us. So to explain a little bit about what we do and why we do it, I might explain a little bit first about the background, because as I said, Visionise is based on previous businesses, mainly one, but two. So my first business was Guanabana. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a store on Darby Street, and I started that in 2005. After I graduated from uni, I had problems finding a job. My English was still pretty bad, and I pretty much started that business to find a way to stay here and create a job for myself. The shop, I bought some brands and I was sewing myself. I'm home with sewing. I was just learned from mum really. I wasn't trained in sewing. The store was going well straight away, and then I wanted to go into wholesale, and I had a bit of an explosive start. I just made up some samples, went on the road. This was before the times of email. Like most stores, retailers, boutiques didn't even have email. They used handwritten receipts back then. No Facebook, no Instagram. So I literally just got dressed up in my samples and made a catalog. I had done graphic design at uni, so I could do that kind of thing. And and just rocked up to stores. Went on a road trip up to Queensland and did a trade show in Melbourne. After 2 weeks, I had done $335,000 worth of orders that I didn't know what to do with. And didn't have the factory, didn't have the money, didn't have storage, didn't have staff. Basically rushed off to Bali and collected anyone that I could find that could sew and started this factory. So it all happened very fast. It was very chaotic. It was very challenging, but we pulled it off. And from there, it just went on to went into the international market, started dealing with Barney's New York, Kitson, big international chain stores, and I started to turn over 7 figures. So it happened very fast and chaotically, but 9 years of that, I had my second baby, a lot of travel, had an offer on the business to sell it, so I sold it, so I could have a little bit of a time off with my last baby. And the new owners, they're still running the retail store, not the brand. That's coming back. After that, I started Me Love Moo, a kids brand, as you do when you've had kids, and sold that as well. The factory then was out of work, so I didn't want to see everything that we'd built go to waste. So they were asking me, can you come up with a way to solve this problem? Because now people are sitting here waiting for things to do and it's not coming, and the factory is kind of located in the middle of the jungle. It's very hidden, you couldn't find it on Google. So it's not like they would be able to get their business out there. So that's when I thought, well, we have all this. I've constantly had people asking me for help, finding ways to produce, and there's people there that needs work. So let's start Visionise. So that's how that happened, and it was great for me because I really missed my team. I missed working with everyone in Bali, and I missed my clients and the whole everything that I had before. I really missed it, and I struggled to find a job. I wanted to stay in Newcastle. I really struggled to find a job within my industry that I could do and be flexible as a mum as well. So to me, it was a no-brainer to just do this. And it also kind of combines everything that I've done in my past. So graphic design, fashion design, manufacturing, textile design, the business side of things, and all my resources, all my contacts, everything is kind of come into one bucket now. And so what we do in terms of how we actually work with our clients, we pretty much have 2 types of clients. We have startups, and then we have big established brands. For the startups, the process is first we analyze their business idea. They pretty much come to us with an idea, and we take it from there until they have a physical product. So we work through with them with their business plan, work at the feasibility, make sure it's commercially viable. We assign them with a designer and a project manager. We create a project that takes them step to step through the whole process, from developing their business idea, their costing, their full collection budget, making sure that however much they're going to spend, they're going to more than double that to organically grow their business. Sourcing, calculate all the consumptions of fabrics and how much, all the details about the design, so product development. Then we do all their technical CADs, their tech packs, all the communication with the factories, and samples, all their branding. We do their website, packaging, everything. So we include the clients in the whole process, so they're never at any point left out of anything. They can at any time step in, do whichever part of the process they want to themselves. And when they're ready, they can gradually start taking over whichever parts they're comfortable with. But most clients realize that there is too many hats to be worn in this industry. So even if they were capable of being an accountant and a designer and a marketing person and a business person and all of these things all at once, they realize that they can't do everything. So you really gotta determine your strengths and weaknesses, and where your strengths are not, find someone who's better to do them. So it's also very hard to work in isolation and work on your own and make all those big decisions by yourself. So it helps them to have a team that actually helps them with the whole process. Then we have big established brands, and we work in many various ways. Like some brands would book out our designers per season, for like 2 months full time, and then wait for a little bit, and then the next season. Some are on retainers, so it's regular. Some just use our CAD and tech pack services. Some only use our manufacturing services. So everything is very flexible. When I'm saying my team, we have an office in Melbourne, a designer there that do all design and consulting there. We have one in Sydney, and I have a designer on the ground in Bali as well. So I was originally doing all these things by myself. I don't get to do anything creative anymore. I'm sitting here in the office with my PA doing behind the scenes stuff. So most of our clients are on retainers, so they just pay a monthly fee for all their services, and then we update them monthly with what's been spent, of how many hours out of their retainer has been spent, and give them a report every month. So that makes it easier for allocating time and makes it easier with budgeting and cash flow for everyone involved as well. Now, this was my factory that I originally built. Since then, we've expanded. So we have another couple of factories in Bali, and we also got 3 factories in China now. I'm currently building another one that we're launching at the end. Well, it's ready at the end of this month, and we're launching it at the International Sourcing Expo in Melbourne in November. And our focus with all the factories are sustainable and ethical manufacturing. So we try to predominantly work with sustainable, eco-friendly material, eco-friendly dye and print methods, work with natural fibers, organic fibers. If we do anything with synthetic, we use recycled. So for swim and activewear, we use material made from plastic bottles or recycled fish nets. So that's the sort of customer we get as well, because that's the focus on our business. I might show that PowerPoint now, actually. So this is for a startup, the sort of process that we would go through. First, I would fill out a form with a number of questions that, so if someone sends through an inquiry on our website, we will respond with a digital form that has a number of questions that is kind of the beginning of a business plan. So it raises questions that they might not have thought about to include in their business plan. And then afterwards, we go into more detail. And first we ask this question: what's your vision? What does your designs need to say about your brand? What is your style, your target market, your price range of garment? This is one that people often get wrong. They align themselves with brands that are mass produced, or that are not really in their market at all. What's your clothing line going to add to the market? So there's a fine balance between, when you create a business, you got to stand out from the crowd, but you got to also, there's a balance between being risky and not too risky. So what are you adding to the market, and how are you not going to drown in the masses? Is your line marketable? Like, how big is your market as well? Who's your competitors? We work a lot on those last 3 points. That's absolutely crucial. So what's the niche? How are you going to stand out from the crowd? And a lot of the time people tend to wanting to do too many product types and not understanding the cost of that, and also it's hard to really nail it and do it well if they do too many product types all at once. So we try to narrow it down, and then you can diversify down the track when you really nail that part of it. And to be really specific and clear about your business, and then once you've established your brand, you can diversify. And then naming your line, because everything is international these days, so you really have to think about how this is going to work in all different languages, and think about where you want to be in 10 years, not where you want to be right now, and really know where your target market is, and the fact that when you start up, you're going to be small, your overheads and your margins will be lower, so you need to aim higher for the target market. You can't go for the low-end target market. So that needs to be reflected in the branding, and these are all the points that needs to be valued. And also in fashion, there's a lot to consider in terms of the logo. A logo, for example, and the name needs to work in very small format or small neck labels, how it's going to be on different colors, on different garments, etc. So there's a lot to consider. Once you have your name, there's a few steps to take. So we need to register this area, registering your business and your trademark. We've actually had a lot of clients that had originally set up by themselves, gone into production with us, and then gotten sued because their brand crossed over with someone in direct competition. They weren't different enough. Then we've had to go to the cost of completely rebranding everything. And in the middle of production, when we've already, done heat presses on the clothes and branded everything, and they've got a website, and it's an enormous job. So people really underestimate the importance of trademarks. So we do help out with that as well. And so for the business plan, I don't need to go into all the details for you guys if you're not necessarily in fashion, but there is a lot to consider in this, especially because there might be wholesale, retail, online. There might be many different types of sales, business structures within one business. So all of those needs to have separate budgets and different, sort of business plans for marketing, etc. So dispatch and distribution, all of these things. So and then the timelines, which typically I'd say 95% of people coming to us, they have got it all wrong with the timelines, especially when starting up a business. You always got to bargain for more time than what you think than the bare minimum. So the first time you do anything is always going to take longer. So the way we would work out a timeline is work backwards. We need to work out, okay, when do you need the product in store, then the production, then the selling, then the sampling, then the design time, and then where do you end up? You should allocate 1 year. I would always design 1 year ahead of season, and that's a constant overlap. So the design process, so research, conceptualize, sketch, select fabrics, design, outsource textile prints, monitor costings. And this is also an area where people often go wrong, that it's easy enough to design something pretty. It's not easy to design to a budget. So costing throughout the design process is complicated. Knowing a minimum of a material, how many designs do you need to use that material in order to meet your minimum, etc. Because one thing I can say, our minimum is 100 pieces per style, but the factory minimum, the fabric minimum might be something different, and it all depends on your design idea or range, how that's all going to work out. So we help out with all those calculations. And then there is, in terms of this timeline as well, there's a lot of testing and developing, back and forth process that's going to eat up time. No, this is actually an old example, just tech bugs. So the sampling process, it's also a lot more complicated than what most people think. It goes with fit samples, produce samples, SMS samples, PP samples, shipping samples, then the PO. It's a long process, and it's difficult for people to understand what are all these different sample types and why are they necessary. So we help with that process. And how to allocate it into a timeline. And then adjusting the pricing. So as part of the costing and budgeting exercise that I do is when people come to me with a business idea and they say, I want to make X amount of styles in X amount of colorways, I might give them a rough budget, raw cost, landed cost with all the import charges, markups, wholesale, retail, and a net profit, a break even. I give them all the results up front. This is how much production is going to be. This is how much import is going to be. This is how much is sitting back with in your pocket if you sell 80% of your stock at full price, because you're never going to sell 100%. So then sometimes they cry, but are better off knowing then than later. At least they can be prepared. And if they're not prepared for those figures, then we can go back and revisit, like tweak that business plan and make it actually feasible to their budget. So this is the first process that I do. Make sure we got all the figures sorted before we waste time on sample and all the rest of the process. Well, that's just a little quick view of how I calculate. And then we create a catalog, and in fashion, that is as important. Marketing is 50% of your business. Instagram is everything in fashion. That's like the amount of brands that we've started up from people that had no industry knowledge whatsoever, completely brand new, launched on Instagram, sold that overnight. I had a client starting off, she had $10,000 to invest in her business for production. 2 months later, she spent $150,000 from pre-orders on Instagram. So marketing is incredible when it comes to fashion. So selling your collection, if you have, there's so many selling strategies, where it is wholesale, direct retail. I'm not going to go into all those details with you guys now, but there's a lot. And there's various selling options with wholesale to agents, distributors, in-house reps, you name it. So we help calculating that and planning that into the business plan too, because that will also affect the margin. We need to know this when I do that costing spreadsheet. What are the selling methods? Then I'll do different budget for each single selling method. And then selling to direct as a retailer. Nowadays, there's a big shift in the industry. Before, in my business, wholesale was like 80% of my business. The retail store on Darby Street was nothing comparing to wholesale, but I had over 200 stores then in wholesale. Now it's changing. The wholesale margins are shrinking. Stores can't support the brands properly, so the brands are forced to sell more direct online, but then they experience that customers come in, try on the clothes, then they go online where they can see the whole collection and buy it there. So it's sort of, the designers aren't supported properly by the retailers. They have to sell online to get better margin and cut out the middleman. But they don't sell as much quantities that way as when they're getting orders, bulk orders for a number of stores, whereas the retailers are struggling with the online competition and also other majors coming into Australia like I2N and Zara, etc. So what we find now is that the retailers are coming to us developing in-house brands. So we're mostly now working with retailers doing in-house brands and designers doing online. So for example, Spell, who's probably one of Australia's largest boutique fashion brands in Australia, have definitely been the fastest growing the last few years. Cara, the US account manager from Spell, is actually now my PA. She got in trouble with Spell if she sold more than 20% of their overall business on wholesale. Their rule is 80-20. because even with them turning over more than $1 million a month, they cannot afford to sell more than 20% wholesale. So that's where the industry is going now. Bulk production. We have a project manager on the ground in Bali as well that goes around and checks on all the bulk production. They do the quality control as well. And then marketing your line. These are just all the different ways to do it. But like I said, Instagram, Facebook is of course the big guy, but when it comes to fashion, Instagram that's what everyone uses. So not saying you shouldn't do Facebook, absolutely, but Instagram is the main thing for fashion. So free social networks, of course, brand ambassadors is a massive thing. That's an absolute must. You need to have other people presenting your brand. We have brands that have paid as much as $35,000 a post for influencers on Instagram, and it's well worth their money. So it says something about the power of Instagram. Wearing your own designs and press releases and bloggers as well is big. Live events, sponsor events, giving freebies, your website, of course, driving traffic to your website, and then paid advertising. In terms of paid advertising, Facebook is amazing for that. In terms of magazines, etc., that's not so common anymore. People don't buy that many magazines now. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And so for me, just to have a quick sort of summary of the key points for the success in my business. One is the relationships that I have with my suppliers and manufacturers in Asia. Relationship is everything. The contracts hardly don't exist there. I do have contracts for everything, but I think I'm the only one. People do multi-million-dollar oil bills in Asia without contracts. These relationships I've had for many years, they are very strong relationships, and that's everything. And not only suppliers, but clients and people that are working with me again were working with me in previous businesses. So they are long-term relationships in this new business. The team is everything. Having a team of, like I said earlier, identifying your strengths and weaknesses and employing the right team is absolutely key. So without my team, I'd be nobody. Like, my team is amazing, my designers, my manufacturers, everything. Technology is another thing that's absolutely key for me. I love automation, and I always study and research to find ways to automate my system so that we can take a larger workload and minimize unpaid hours and maximize paid hours, because the amount of admin and unpaid hours that's involved is enormous. So I'm constantly creating systems, and I invest a lot of time in researching and creating systems, but it is, in the big picture, so worthwhile, because what you get back is 10 times more, and you can grow your business so much faster. And never stop learning. Before I started Visionise, for a year before starting, while I had maternity leave, I made it my thing that at least 10 to 15 minutes every day I was going to learn a new skill when I eat my lunch. So I went on Skillshare and I'd type in something I want to learn about technology, and I learned something amazing every day. And I still do that. And if I'm just sitting there and eating, I may as well watch something useful. So I love learning new things. But now I also learn a lot from my team as well, and that's the other good thing about having a team, because they're going to bring new skills into the business. Another thing is being original. Everything I do is from scratch. I never copied anyone else's business model, never copied anyone else's design. So being original is extremely important. And not compare yourself to others. I think I do find that, and being consulting startups as well, they often compare themselves to others, and that's a big problem. It brings them down, but why are they getting this and why are they doing that and I'm not? And you can't think like that. You need to set yourself goals and focus on yourself and where you want to be and how you're going to get there, and be individual and be original and love and believe in what you do, because if you're going to run your own business, it's a lot of hours. But at the end of the day, most of the time, I do work crazy hours, but at the end of the day, most of the time I'd rather work than do anything else because I love it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions?
As far as sourcing like fabrics or trims and things,
yeah.
Say if I wanted to do something from Newcastle but used your services,
yeah.
Would I have to personally go over to Bali?
No.
Or
I've got it all here.
literally here?
Literally here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually, I could show the website as well. The website is going through a big overhaul at the moment because there's so many changes to the business, but we just haven't had time to update the website yet. But one of the things that we're working on right now is a fabric sourcing page where we're going to list all the fabrics that we have, and you can just like put a heart on all the ones that you like and request swatches, and we can send you those swatches. But if you're local, you can just come in and look at them all in person. Otherwise, if they're not local, we send them out. So it's part of their design and development stage. They can choose the swatches, and then that's just for lending. They send them back because we only keep one of everything in the office. And then if you have decided on which fabrics you want to go ahead with and the colors, then we'd give you a strike off. So then we'd send you the keep swatch with the right colors. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot more products and services on the website very soon where you can order. At the moment, we just uploaded things like branded recycled courier bags, for example, like these type of packaging solutions and branding and CADs and tech packs. All of those are going to be separate product pages now, but it's in the making. Yeah. So,
do you have a direct shipping department?
I have my own courier company. Yeah, we handle all shipments as well, whether it's sample or bulk shipment worldwide. So it's booked through our website. So when you're a client, you get a login, and we get prices that are way cheaper than what you would get if you were to go with a courier company as a single business, because we do big bulk for everyone. We get better prices. Yeah, and same with exchange rate. We do all the exchange rates as well, all the money conversions.
What's the rough margin on your product, say gross, if you were to say if I started making shirts or a certain product, what would I expect roughly to sell?
It really depends on your business model, what portion, if you're going to do direct retail or if you're going to do wholesale, or if it's going to be both, what portion is going to be direct retail and what portion is wholesale. Generally, as an average, the most startup businesses would predominantly base their budget on direct retail. And just if it's wholesale initially, just think of that as a marketing tool. You're not going to lose money, you're going to make some money from it. You can't rely completely on it. So it would just give you more exposure in the beginning, and also by increasing your quantities, your margins will eventually catch up anyway. So I usually set the margin to around 80% from landed cost to recommended retail. That allows for a good retail margin, but not an ideal wholesale margin. But by the time you increase your quantities, it will catch up. So then freight, everything, is also different. With the quantities gets cheaper. So that's how it, and obviously sample costs and all those fixed expenses that are there regardless how much you sell and produce, going to be split across you know, however many styles affecting the margin. So, but normally, like, if ideally, if you were a wholesaler, you should triple the landed cost, ideally. Yeah. Mm. Mm.
You mentioned at the start, you know, like explosive growth.
Mm.
So when you hit the ground, when you finished university, you decided you were going to start your own line and label, and you went and you raised all those pre-sales. You mentioned before as well about mentorship. Who did you have mentoring you through that to understand what model you were getting yourself into? And how did you decide in the moment from, I've made all these sales, now I have to go and create the manufacturing line and do all the back end of that? What were your thought processes through there to make you go and do that? Because they're large decisions and huge capital expenditures. Did you have anyone guiding you through those decisions? I wish.
That's why I'm doing this. I wish I was there then. Would have helped me with a lot of setbacks. No, I like I said, I didn't speak great English. That's why I started in the first place. I didn't know about business. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about fashion industry either. So I didn't have no one to mentor me through that. It was chaotic. And I did create a successful business and I did make a lot of money, but I could have made a lot more if I knew what I was doing. I could have eliminated a lot of setbacks if I had a plan and a structure in place. But I obviously wasn't expecting the amount of orders that I received. It was a complete shock to me. And I didn't want to waste the opportunity. So I just found a way to do it, to pull it off. So I pretended to buy a house and got a house loan. And a lot of people joined me for the business adventure because I had the proven orders there, but I didn't have all the money yet. But they were willing to invest in the work, knowing that I would pay them when I get paid. And in Bali, it's all based on karma. So we had a big ceremony and had to talk to all the spirits at various temples, and and they told us to go ahead with this, and they still all got a job, so yeah, worked out. Yeah, sometimes I was thrown in the deep end, but sometimes there's such a balance of, you know, taking opportunities when they are there and taking a risk. At that time I was, 25, and I didn't have a family and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was probably a lot more willing to gamble than what I am now. I still take risks, but they are calculated risk these days. I wouldn't do. I was lucky, very lucky to be honest, that I pulled that off, because the success rate is very low actually. So nowadays, and for me, as now that I'm on the other end being a manufacturer, our clients' win is our win. Our purpose is to make sure our clients grow and become successful, because when they start out with us, running the sampling room is expensive, and even though it costs a fair bit of money for a designer, we still go with the loss. Production, they might start off on only 500 pieces or 1,000 pieces. We still go with the loss at that, or maybe luckily break even. Only when they grow are we actually starting to make some money. So it's in our interest to make sure that they grow, and that's why we do this, to make sure they are. And so far we've let some people cut corners and they think that they can handle it on their own, and we've like, okay, you do it. And they often they haven't ended up in bulk production when we've helped them through the process. So far we haven't had anyone not go into bulk. So yeah. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone. It's like our insurance, making sure that people that we spend our time and money with are gonna be worthwhile, and obviously for our clients as well. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.